Welcome back, house guests. Come on in and let me pour you some tea. And today we're going to be talking about Blake Lively's fans actually hurting Blake Lively's case. So hear me out. There has been some chatter from the pro Blake Lively camp, and rightfully so. She had a very bad PR weekend, if you ask me, saying that the Perez Hilton case was actually a win for them instead of a win for him. Well, that may be true as, hey, she got it not dismissed, but further examined. I guess you could say that's a win for her. But if you look at it, she has to spend more money on her lawyers to fly back and forth. She has to spend more money on a forensic analyst and a paralegal, right? And then she has to contend with the possibility that Perez Hilton, who said publicly he has nothing and has never been paid or has never done anything at the request or behest of, tag, its associates, anybody, she has to contend with the truth. Now, Perez Hilton has left us some breadcrumbs, and thank you for those breadcrumbs. Those breadcrumbs include pro Blake Lively content. Okay, so if the date range is from May to February 2024, date range of negative materials probably up closer to 2025. Let's just say 2025, because the CRD complaint was filed in mid-December. And with the end date being February 2025, we can point to not Blake Lively's negative sales, but we can point to Target's negative sales and compare to Blake Lively's negative sales, the social chatter, and the numerous boycotts that have been called for Target. But anyways, back to pro Blake Lively's fans who seem to make it worse for Miss Blake Lively. So over the weekend, there was a video that was released right after the Megyn Kelly connection, where the pro Blake Lively person pointed out all the connections of Megyn Kelly to a company that was subpoenaed by Blake Lively, and said, see, she didn't subpoena Megyn Kelly. She subpoenaed Megyn Kelly's company. Now, like that makes a difference. She was still after the same information, so it really didn't matter which party it came from. But it looks like Megyn Kelly was successful because, as reported, there was no subpoena, or it was quashed before it was even issued or something, because I have a feeling that there's some sort of backstory to that. But anyways, the pro Blake Lively camp continues with Perez Hilton, calling it a win, a loss for him, saying that he still has to produce all of these materials and that he's not going to get away with anything, or he's not going to get away with accountability. But I really think that Perez Hilton is right, and he doesn't have anything that is going to help Blake Lively or the Blake Lively fan club. I honestly think that the unsealing of the interrogatories was a smart move on Wayfair, because they showed their cards and they told the truth. And the truth is that I really believe that it was Wayfair's idea to release the video, and they released the video as part of work product, and as part of that work product they sent the video to Perez Hilton, Popcorn Planet, and all of the other media and news sites listed in all of the interrogatories. And if that's the case, then there really was no smear campaign. It was technically work product, right? And like Amber Heard said, she had mentioned that the Johnny Depp's attorney's statements were defamatory. Amber Heard was also able to state the statements and the impact it had on her on social media. Unfortunately, Blake Lively is not able to state any statements other than what her attorneys told her, which is probably what is solely in the prepared grid of defamatory statements that she filed earlier in trying to get sanctions against Brian Friedman. And when it comes to Perez Hilton, if he received the video under work product, then I don't think it was a defamatory move or a defamatory statement. I believe it was a legal strategy, a legal defense strategy, where the Wayfair side said, hey, this is Blake's statements and this is our side, and this is how we're going to refute her statements with the truth and real evidence. And if that's the case, then Perez Hilton really didn't defame anybody. What he did was he released essentially a statement from a lawyer about it being video form. If this theory is correct, it may be wrong, but if it's correct and he only disseminated a video that was received from the lawyer as far as the defense stating this is what really happened and she was mic'd up and these are the statements and these are the types of things that we were talking about, then Blake Lively doesn't have anything, and she's totally wasting her time with Perez Hilton. And I have a feeling the same thing goes for Popcorn Planet, that their source is actually Brian Friedman as far as a defense strategy for the Wayfair side in disputing Blake Lively's claims in real time. Which is also why I think she is complaining about tainting the jury pool, is because really Brian Friedman and the Wayfair side has exposed most, if not all, of her lies so far, at least to the public. And I'm sure more is going to be unmasked with the Van Sham lawsuit. And there might be even more drama that comes with that. But in any case, she doesn't have Perez and she doesn't have Popcorn Planet. She doesn't have Jed. She has no smear campaign. And if she really is telling the truth about being uncomfortable and she really can state at an event or an activity that says, hey, I was very uncomfortable because he called me baby, and he kept calling me baby for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I told him to stop and he wouldn't stop, and then my husband had to get involved and he had to be there every single day because this director was calling me baby, and Isabella Ferrer heard it somehow through the grapevine, and Jenny Slate heard it somehow, and Brendan Sklar heard it. She doesn't have that. So really, she doesn't have anything. So if it does make it to jury, what is she going to say? She can't cite an event. She can't cite a statement that was made that was defamatory other than what her lawyers have prepared. So really, her case is falling apart, and it's falling apart quickly. And these are just the end fumes of desperation in the Blake Lively It Ends With Us saga. Well, what do you guys think?